Whoa, all four wheels off the ground there in the old dolly. Driving lights nosed into the ground a bit there.
Right on. This is wrong. Okay.
Welcome to another episode of the restoration of this Triumph Dolomite Sprint rally car. Now, it's been a while since I've made one of these videos because things beyond my control are preventing me working on the dolly. The first one was this thing. Nice stainless steel, beautiful looking thing, isn't it, eh? Well, it doesn't fit. And no one I've taken it to can make it fit. Well, not within reason. It hits on the subframe, and if you try and bend it or twist it or whatever it needs to do at this point, it has a corresponding effect at this point, and it's really just a shed ornament. So I've had to return to the original one that was on the dolly. Now, it had a bit of a hole in it just here, so that's been repaired, but the welder had it for probably 6 weeks before he did it. Then it went to the ceramic coater, and he had it for a little over a week. So all in all, that has caused one big delay in me working on the dolly. The other thing that happened was the handbrake. Now, this car's got a fancy disc brake rear end that I've only just put on it, and the handbrake cable's about 20mm, 25mm too short. Now, this little bit component here goes to the handbrake. Now, the handbrake is sort of up here inside the car, and and then there's a gadget here that the cable's hooked to. Well, it was just, well, wasn't this too short? The cables were too short. So this has been lengthened and a nut been put on there and a thread put on there so it can be adjusted. Another thing I had to have done and wait for. So all in all, nothing's happened to the dolly for quite some time. But with these components, I can now put the exhaust in, which means dragging the engine up as high as I can get it to physically get it in there. Then I can actually put the whole exhaust system on. I can put the handbrake all together properly, and that means I can put the tail shaft on, and I can bolt the engine in. The engine mounting's in properly, it's just sitting there at the moment. And that will be what I'll be doing in this episode. Unfortunately, things will come to a big stop again because, again, I'm waiting on more welded components, the brackets that hold the electric fans on, and so who knows when I'll get back to the dolly after this. So, let's get on with it. Well, some days things go well and some days things don't go well. Just have to about get the whole engine out to get that exhaust pipe physically in place. I have no idea why. I think the new repair, which bulked up the exhaust, meant that it just wouldn't go in. And I put the engine in this car from underneath before the subframe was in, which is the real easy way to do it. And pulling it out through the top always gives you problems. It catches on the steering rack and on the tunnel and everywhere else, and if I wanted to catch somewhere, it caught somewhere today. I destroyed an oil filter because I forgot you got to pull the oil filter off in order to clear the oil cooler lines, and I had to undo so much stuff that I've already done up and done properly. So anyway, the motor is sort of where it should be at the moment, and I'll now attempt to actually bolt that bit of exhaust on. Well, that's that bit of exhaust on. It's only taken nearly 3 hours, and now there's just so much that I've had to undo that now needs to be done up again. Sometimes, Dolly. Yeah. Well, let's get the engine mountings done up and the cross member back on, everything under there back on, and see what it all looks like then. Oh, they went in easier than they usually do, so you got to take the good and the bad, eh? What, eh? Get this bloody crane out of the way. Alright. Time to get down and under again. Well, now we've got to get under here and do all the stuff that I have already done. Put the cross member on, which I've just bolted onto the gearbox. Now I've got to bolt it up to the chassis rails and speedo drive and everything else that's sort of part of this down in here that I had to undo. Yeah, I'm sure the old dolly is a bit of a prima donna, you know. It sort of doesn't really like motorsport, doesn't really like being used and abused, you know. It likes to sit in a shed and look pretty and be pampered, because it gives me so much grief. It's sort of, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, you know. Like a petulant teenager. Why did I persevere, eh? Well, it's a pity that that nice stainless steel exhaust didn't fit. And no, yeah, it's some good and bad. This exhaust is made to fit. It's got a proper flange on it. It would have been one hell of a hassle to redo all that, which I would have had to have done with the stainless steel one. And this one also sort of hangs a little bit low for a rally car. It needs to be another, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, maybe half an inch higher. All too late now. And well, the facts of life are that poor old Dolly's not going to see another rally, so it will probably see other forms of motorsport, but they won't require the ground clearance, you know. If I work on my bucket list of doing racetracks I've never done before, well, you don't need ground clearance on a racetrack, you know. So the half inch that I would have liked to have had, doesn't really matter. Come on, how many hands do I need to put a speedo drive on? About 3 by the look of it. Well, time to put this back on, part of the engine mounting arrangement. Sort of steady thing, not sure what you call it. We'll get that back on. It'll be nice to think this dolly will get back on the road again one day. I've had a little bit more investigation into rally car registration, and it's a possibility, possibly, who knows. At the end of the day, I'll probably just have to get the dolly all back together, take it to an inspector, and they'll say yes, you can register as rally car, or no, you can't. Because trying to interpret the rules is sort of, you know, I'd need some sort of solicitor or something. You know, it's too convoluted and rubbish. So that's what I'm planning to do. Just get it all back together, have it inspected. If it's a minor adjustment here and there, I'll do it. If it's, you know, aluminium roll cage not allowed, end of story. Well then, so be it. The dolly will become another garage ornament, but possibly not. I know I can't rally it with an aluminium roll cage, but you can use it in other motorsport because it's a logbook car from way back in time, and that was the plan anyway, to work on the bucket list. So you know, the odd hill climb track I've never been on, or some racetrack I've never been on, and it's not as if I'm going to be going at 10 tenths anymore. It's really just the experience of doing that particular track. So hopefully that might happen. You never know. Got to think positive. Now I've got the Toyota, which is off the road again. Something called an airflow meter. Bloody thing. Anyway, I've got the Toyota on with the NRMA, which is like a breakdown thing in Australia. Because it's sort of a bit beyond me. I've never had the Triumphs on any sort of that sort of thing, because I've always reasoned that if I can't fix it, well, some mechanic guy that knows nothing about them isn't going to be able to fix them. But I'm starting, with a bit of old age, to relent on that way of thinking. And yes, I would still probably give myself a good chance of being able to fix it, but on other occasions it might be convenient, particularly to be able to get it towed somewhere. So there's a chance if I did get the dolly going and started to do some of these great big trips to interstate to do some racetrack or other, that it might be an idea to have it on that system just in case. I know that's a bit wimpy of me. Alright, basically I'm back to where I started from, really. Not quite, there's still other things to put on. Got to put another oil filter on and hook up the oil cooler lines, and probably have a bit of a look around, make sure I haven't damaged anything or buggered anything up. But other sort of thing, I'm sort of back to where I started now. And I can get on with the handbrake and the tail shaft and the exhaust. Have damaged the nice paintwork down in there where the engine sort of scraped on the suspension turret here. I'll probably be able to get some newspaper down in there and a bit of touch-ups, pressure pack can, and fix it up a bit. Bit of a pity though that happened, but not like it's a show car. Alright, let's get on with it. Well, it's time to get this handbrake set up on. Hopefully this will work. Now, because the handbrake cables are too short and I've lengthened that rod, this spring doesn't fit no more, because it is now too long. Don't you just love it? Well, there you go, that spring is finally on. I put a cable tie around it to make sure it doesn't come off. All seems pretty good to me. Still need a couple of split pins in there. Oh, that's good. Good. Dolly's looking like a car again. But there's a long way to go. Oh, that is the tail shaft on. Now, I made these copper washers, gaskets, for the exhaust. Now, these flanges are something I made, and I wasn't thinking when I did it. I needed it to be square so it didn't have a sort of catch point to catch on rocks and things. And most of the commercial ones are more like a oval shape. So I thought, oh, I'll make some. Then I wasn't thinking about the gasket, and then I bought the sort of gasket material for exhaust and make it, but it's very sort of crumbly stuff and it invariably blows, so I have no idea how copper gasket will go, but I thought I'd try it. And I've also never used a sort of gaskety gooey stuff on exhaust. I've just, thought, what's the point? It's going to burn away, yeah, what's the point, But, yeah, you see it on cars all the time, this sort of red gaskety goo stuff, so I figure I will try it and see, it's not gonna hurt. Well, that's about it for this episode of the restoration of this poor old dolly. Hasn't gone smoothly today, but I've got mostly what I plan to get done. Tail shaft's on, the exhaust is on, the handbrake is all hooked up properly now, the engine mounts are done up, and of course the piece of exhaust that caused most of the hassle and aggro is now back on. There's not a lot more I can do to the dolly now. There's a few small little things to be done, which are only like 10-15 minute jobs, even if they go badly. So I'm not sure what I'll get on to next. Unfortunately, I'll be waiting for the welder. The brackets that hold the electric fans on the radiator, he's got those to be welded all together. And I don't really want to put anything else in the engine bay because it's only going to make life hard for me to put the radiator in and put the fans on. So I guess that's about it for this episode. Tune in, same duck time, same duck channel for more mechanical mayhem on this poor old dolly. Bye for now.